Stanton here with ACEP Frontline, and today joined by Dr. Christina Shenvi. You've heard her before. If you're on the online one, you'll see her. But for us here in Salt Lake City, thank you for coming in. I'd initially sent in an ask on a particular talk. Of course, she does a bunch where she's here all the time. She does a fantastic job. He's like, no, let's don't do that one. I don't like that one. All right, fine. So we're going to talk about today some of the beyond balance, creating work-life effectiveness instead. So first and foremost, welcome back.
Thanks, Ryan. Always great to talk with you.
And I appreciate it. So let's dive right in. Burned out, getting jaded, work-life balance.
All right. Well, I'm not going to tell you how to have work-life balance. Instead, I'm going to say, let's throw that whole idea out the window. Mm-hmm. I've never really felt comfortable with it for several reasons. One is that it pits work against life. Mm-hmm. As if, work is bad. And so if things are really bad at work, we need to make it better in our rest of our life, or go get a cucumber facial, or do something to counteract the badness at work. Or maybe we need to get a new job. And sometimes maybe those things are true. There's nothing wrong with those things. But instead, work is a really integral part of our lives. And it's often one of the most important and most fulfilling things that we do. The other problem, and why I don't like the idea of work-life balance, is it creates this tightrope that, at some point, if we get all the pieces of the puzzle correct and, the equations and the stars line up, we'll be in this perfect state of balance, which lasts for about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then something happens and now you're out of balance again. So to me, it's more about how do we create the impact that we want to have? How do we spend our time doing the things that we want to do, both in our work and the time that we're not at work? Because they're both, it's all part of our lives.
All right, so we're diving in. And I agree. I completely get the work-life balance, because for me, it's very much a integrated life and work kind of all together, just with the positions and opportunities and things that I do. And so I kind of get it. It's just kind of, this is how it's going to be. I enjoy it this way. It is about setting up some of the borders and guardrails on things. And usually it's not actually even work related. It's the fact that I'm not going to go on EM docs after 5 p.m. just because of the fact that I just can't get my blood pressure up that late. And potentially be
the ulcers will act up.
Yes, it does. It does. I mean, sometimes you don't need to know the sky is falling when the sun is down. So just take it from there. All right. So, you're talking about in this talk, creating the harmony and vitality, purposeful, nuanced lives, kind of getting, because our conversations is not clear. I mean, it's very clear in our discussions that we've had before that is more of a cerebral approach to some of these topics, and whether it's feedback, whether it's education, whatever it may be. And in terms of this aspect of our lives, kind of dive into some of those, thinking about things that
Ryan, I'm going to come at you with a framework. So I've got 3 main ideas and then some practical tips to implement them. Yep. So the first main thing is to be the CEO of your life. A lot of times if something bad happens, we fall into this pitfall of learned helplessness, mm-hmm. which, there's some experiments from the 70s where they put animals in a cage and gave them electric shocks. And the animals learned, when bad things happen, I have no control. And then when they put them in other cages where there was a way to get out, or a, passageway out, and exposed them to noxious stimuli, they didn't move because they had learned, when bad things happen, I have no control. So the first step is really maintaining agency, stopping the cycle of saying, oh, I have to do all these things, or they're making me do that. No one can make you do anything. They can't make me go to shift. They can't make me fly home tomorrow. Nobody can make me do anything. I am doing it because I'm choosing to. And so this idea for me of being the CEO of your life is, imagine you were running a company. Your company is called Ryan Stanton's Life. You would be strategic about, okay, where am I going to strategically deploy my energy? You wouldn't just say yes to everything, but you would also not just say no to everything. I'm not here to say, oh, stop saying yes and set boundaries. I'm here to say, be strategic, be thoughtful, count the cost before you say these yeses and nos. If you're the CEO of your life, you're not doing every single role. You don't have to necessarily do the laundry or mow your grass. You can think about, what are the things that I as CEO need to do, and what things am I going to delegate, outsource, hire other people to do. And it was funny, Ryan, I had talked about this concept at the AWEP retreat back in January in Costa Rica. And then I ran into a doc who went to it, and I had spoken about it, forgot about it. She pulled me over a couple days ago here at ACEP, and she said, that idea changed my life. She's now outsourcing things. She's being more thoughtful about what she's doing. So first and foremost, maintain agency. We are not victims. We are the ones who are in control of what we're doing, and taking an owner's rather than a renter's mentality to our lives. You know, when you rent a house, you're not thinking about planting trees that'll grow 10 years from now, and you're not taking care of the roof. That's the landlord's job. When you're an owner, you're being thoughtful. You're taking care of all the things that are going on in your house.
All right. So that's number one.
It's number one.
All right. Let's go on. Number two.
All right. Number two is to be radical.
Be radical.
So ruthlessly prioritize what matters.
Okay.
And taking a look at all the things you're doing, because we cannot do everything. So that means we need to prioritize. We need to look at the things we're doing and say, what are the things that are really important? What are the wildly important things? And what is the trash? Or maybe let's not call it trash, but what are the things that are less important to me that I want to divest? So if you're a company, you're the CEO, where are the things that I want to invest more in? And what are the things that I want to sell off or divest or give to somebody else? And there are lots of ways you can do this. But first, it's just kind of taking stock, take an inventory. You know, if you're a company, you're going to look at, what are my assets? What are my liabilities? So for you, what are the things you're doing, and where do they overlap with, I like to use the concept of ikigai, which is what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. And how the things map onto that Venn diagram will change over time. In anyone's career, there are seasons of planting and pruning. Especially as a junior faculty member many years ago, I did a lot of planting seeds. Somebody, wanted me to give a talk here or collaborate on a project there. I would plant a lot of seeds because I didn't really know which ones were going to grow. And that was often surprising, which ones would, grow. And then mid-career, it was really more a season of pruning, where I said, okay, this one grew, this one didn't, or sometimes making tough decisions. You sometimes have to prune branches that you really like, but that allows you to then have more space to grow those few things that are really creating flourishing in your life. So look at it not just right now, but as a season. What are you growing? What needs to be planted? And where do you need to prune? I'm sure for you now, as the recently elected president-elect of ACEP, you're going to need to do some pruning. And also you're doing a lot of planting. Like, you're meeting with all these new people, new organizations, creating connections. There's going to be a lot of seeds that grow from this. But in order to make space for them to grow, you're going to need to prune a lot of things.
And that's the idea. I mean, with this role now, it's less about my seeds and a lot of planting seeds for emergency positions on a larger scale. Those relationships and things that ACEP, the name, will grow from there. But yeah, absolutely. That's the first thing that happens is when you're elected to this role, that's pruned back almost to the ground. A lot of the stuff that you're doing, understanding that you're going to keep it in place and hopefully start to see growth back again in a few years once you kind of get back to the Ryan Stanton side of things as opposed to the ACEP president side.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And, when I think about pruning and focusing, one of the biggest culprits of wasted time is what? What do you think? It's a little tiny thing that's sitting on the desk, your phone. So
I was hoping you were going to say sleep because I love sleep.
No. Sleep is great.
That's my favorite.
Love some sleep. All right. So pop quiz. How many hours a day do you think people spend on their phones?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Actually, it's not that bad, but you're not far off.
I've got a 17-year, 15-year-old.
Yeah, so kids, I don't have the Gen Alpha data, although Gen Alpha is a little younger. So Gen Z, which would be your kids right now, 6.5 hours a day. Gen X, which is you and me, 4 hours and 48 minutes a day. So on average, population-wide, it's about 5 hours and 15 minutes a day, which that amounts to 35 hours a week. So we're spending almost a full-time job just being on our phones. And what's funny is people then say, well, but I'm being productive. I'm being productive on my phone. 5% of the time spent on our phone is on productivity. And then, some of it's on other good things like listening to books or, music when you work out, all great things. But let's be honest with ourselves. The majority of the time is on social media or entertainment, which I'm not here to say like we should get rid of that. And, but maybe just to make it purposeful. What are you doing on this? What is it that you need that is driving you here? Now, another pop quiz for you. All right. What's the number one reason that we pick up our phones and look at social media?
Well, one, I think for the most part, if you get to the deep down, it's the reward pathway, looking for
some dopamine.
And you don't want to miss anything anymore.
Yeah. So some FOMO. Oh my gosh, what if something important is happening? When they've studied this, the number one reason is boredom. So we pick up our phones for many reasons, but often there's some uncomfortable emotion. Mm-hmm. I'm doing my work and maybe it's frustrating. And I'm like, oh, let me just get some dopamine from my phone. Or I'm bored. Let me look and find something entertaining. So the phone and social media are really like pacifiers for adults. When you have babies or toddlers and they're crying, doesn't matter why they're crying, they're experiencing some negative emotion, pop that pacifier in. Mm-hmm. And that is what we do as adults. We're experiencing something negative. Let's pop in that pacifier of social media. And there's all sorts of problems with this in terms of, reinforcing those dopamine pathways, but also some really fascinating studies looking at our performance. And what they do is they have people take tests of working memory and fluid intelligence, kind of like IQ tests. And they'll do it with their phones off, but on the desk, or phones in their pockets, or phones in another room. And you perform better on those tests just by taking your phone out of the room. So that's one thing, if you're a resident studying for the in-service or studying for your board exams, put your phone in another room. You'll perform better on those tests. So ruthlessly prioritizing, often we need to take an honest look at what we're doing with our phones.
That's fascinating. And I would have answered the question accurately if I didn't have my phone sitting right here.
Yeah. I know. I had meant to say, oh, please stow your phone before we start, but I forgot.
That's all right. That's right. Yeah, and the pacifier is good, even though I do want everybody to get on your pacifier right now. Make sure you download all the podcasts on your favorite player. That's okay. That's productive. Because I looked up the data, and it was the average for the Gen Z 6.5 to 9 hours per day. And I think my kids,
maybe they're overachievers in that regard.
At least my older ones. Don't tell her. Well, she doesn't listen to podcasts anyway. All right. So we've talked about be the CEO of your life. And number 2, be radical, prioritize what matters. What I put forward is declutter. Mm-hmm. It's not trash.
Yeah. Clutter.
Yeah. Collection is this baseball card collection. It's the Matchbox cars. It's the Pokemon, I guess. I don't know. I didn't get Pokemon.
Yeah. We're kind of like hoarders of stuff sometimes,
But hoarders of adult stuff.
Yes.
Or the fact that the things you need to think that are important that you just keep holding on to. All right. Number 3.
Number 3 is to be free.
Okay.
So now this is where we get to some of the cognitive ideas and being free from common mental traps or cognitive distortions that keep us doing things the way we've always done them or falling into some of these traps of learned helplessness. So the first trap is that learned helplessness where we come back to it. So I think about, a mouse trap, like what's the cheese in this trap that keeps us coming back to the trap? Well, it's easier to blame external things. It's easier to not take ownership. It's downstream with the culture. And in order to avoid this trap, we need to start taking radical ownership of what we do. And also just taking the time to reflect, to do an inventory of our lives and sit down as if we were CEO. Another common trap is saying yes to things that we hate. And this one sometimes is people pleasing. Sometimes it's FOMO. Like, oh, what if I say no to this? What if that closes a door in the future? And it's one of the ones that we do partly because we feel valued or we get praised for doing it, or we feel like we're making a contribution, but we continuously say yes to things that we hate. So this takes a little thought to say, all right, why am I choosing to do this? Or do I want to choose to do this? Is it strategic? Is this, if this life is my company, is this a place I want my company to invest in? And taking thoughtful chances. All right, I've got 2 more.
All right.
You ready?
Yep, bring it.
Tracking?
Yep.
All right, trap number 3 is maladaptive perfectionism. And this is a classic example of what got us here won't get us there. Mm-hmm. So what got us here was getting good grades, doing really well, and making everything perfect. But then if we try to continue doing that, it not only doesn't help us, but it can hurt us. So we need to be strategic in what things we make an A+ and what things are fine with a B-. Like if I'm giving a talk, I want that to be A+. If I'm taking care of patients, I want that to be A+. Mm-hmm. My documentation, it can be a B+. It's fine. It doesn't have to be useful sentences and perfect grammar. My cooking is a C- on a good day. Like I just don't care about it. I don't invest in it. So being selective with where we put our energy allows us to have more energy for other things. And then my last trap is thinking busy equals important. So Ryan, I don't know if you can relate to any of these, but maybe things like constantly taking on new projects, even though you're already overcommitted, or being uncomfortable with rest. You go on vacation, you're like, wait, shouldn't I be doing something? Or feeling guilty about taking time to do other things. I remember I was talking with a woman at my institution who said, well, I know I should work out, but I also know I should do emails. And so if I work out, I feel guilty for not doing my emails. And if I do my emails, I feel guilty for not working out. So we create these impossible situations. And the trick here is to choose and not feel guilty. So choose one or the other, whatever it is, and not feel guilty. An example from my life was I got invited to speak at the ACEP Teaching Fellowship back many years ago. And that ended up being, of course, I didn't know it at the time, but that ended up growing into a really big part of my career that I love, which is directing the Teaching Fellowship. But the first time I got invited, it was over the date of my oldest son's birthday. And I was like, well, great. Do I go? And then I feel guilty for missing his birthday. Or do I stay home and then feel terrible that I've missed this opportunity? And the trick was to choose and not feel guilty. So this trap of thinking, oh, well, if I'm busy, that means I'm important, or feeling validated because a lot of people need us. One more story for you. My husband and I went on vacation with another couple many years ago now, and the wife of the other couple is a dermatologist. She works very part-time, good friend of mine. And every day during the vacation in this beautiful, all-inclusive resort in Riviera Maya, I would get up and kind of do an hour or so of email. But then I would reserve the right to complain about it for the rest of the day. Then, oh my gosh, I had to do all this email. And after a few days, my sweet, long-suffering friend, she's like, yeah, I think I've gotten like 5 emails in the last 3 days. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I'd only gotten 5 emails, I would have felt so unneeded. And I realized, oh, that's the problem. That I will feel needed and validated because all these people are emailing me asking for things, or asking for my advice, or asking for my help. And that's then a trap that I am falling into that's making me not, be able to be fully present here on my vacation.
Well, I found that for me, vacation now with everything is, and I tell my wife, so the last big trip we did was for our 20th anniversary. We went to Italy. And of course, wonderful plan. She's put together this great adventure. And for me, I've noticed that the first 2 days of any given trip now, it's just that purposeful effort to unplug. Mm-hmm. It's hard to turn off the life that you do that gets you to vacation. And then you kind of relax and kind of get it back into things. And then once you get to the last day or 2 of your vacation, you're dreading going back to the rat race that you're already in. But I mean, it's important to be very purposeful and unplug. cruises are great for that because the stupid
the Wi-Fi sucks.
The Wi-Fi plan sucks and expensive, and your app updates and you waste all your data for the entire trip. Or my recommendation, I did interview Dr. Dolly earlier, so this probably would be a good investment plan, is buy a tractor. It's like my favorite thing ever is getting out on the Kubota tractor and just mowing stuff with a little radio. Can't do anything, can't work.
Nice.
Just enjoy being out there, just taking that moment to completely unplug. I completely get the workout. Like this week, the workout thing has been awful. It hasn't happened. And I felt guilty. I felt awful about it. And
Choose to not feel guilty.
And I'm going to go home and probably just end up with rhabdo, trying to catch back up. But at the same time, I agree. Those are the things is the not feeling guilty, not feeling trapped in, and understanding that, one, if you don't show up, the world still turns.
It does. It shocks me every time, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, if I don't show up,
everything's going to fall apart. And you're like,
oh, it didn't fall apart. The hospital's going to close. Oh wait, they didn't know I was gone.
It's fine, yeah.
They thought maybe I'd quit. So, any other thoughts? I think we got the CEO of your life.
Yep.
Be radical, prioritize what matters, and declutter. Be free, learned helplessness, saying yes to things we hate, the maladaptive performance, and busy does not equal important, which that was a hard one for me.
That's a tough one because we love doing things and we, love having lots of balls in the air. And for me, the way that I've sort of settled into how I work on vacation, I don't like coming back to 5,000 emails in my inbox. So I'll usually take an hour in the morning every day on vacation, and I'll do my emails, get through the worst of it, and, flag the things that I need to do. But that's my choice. And so I don't complain about it. I don't feel guilty. And that's how I kind of function. So you find what works for you. Some people like to totally unplug. I like to just plug in for a little bit and then unplug.
Yeah. Well, that's the key though. Even if you're going to do that, you don't want to continue to be your normal work schedule when you're on vacation, being present. I think my favorite trip that I did actually more recently was Yellowstone. Because if you've ever been to Yellowstone, there is no service.
There is no service.
There's no phone service. There's no Wi-Fi. And it was glorious.
Yes.
Now, when you did finally get back into Bozeman or into Jackson, if you're on the other side, and all of a sudden your phone blows up, like the world did just, the sky did just fall, then it gets a little bit overwhelming. But it was nice to have that forced going against that kind of workaholic work drive that you have and say, you have to enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the moment.
And I love the fact they've had the option to bring in cell service and to bring in Wi-Fi service to the park. They said, no.
Mm-hmm.
The park is the focus, not being connected to your life. All right, so any closing thoughts?
Some practical strategy.
Okay, love it.
So how do you then take these kind of abstract ideas and really operationalize them? So first, sit down as CEO of your company and do an honest life and self-assessment. Look at where your time is going. Look at your phone. Activate that weekly report that shows you how much time you've spent on different things on your phone. Do a calendar audit. I like to go in every now and again in my calendar and look at what meetings am I dreading? Mm-hmm. What meetings do I just hate? And can I get off those committees or meetings so that I'm not having things I hate on my calendar? And then think about what would you want your life to look like 6 months from now? In terms of what you're spending your time on, what are you doing more of? What are you doing less of? How do you feel physically and emotionally? And then as CEO of your life, develop a strategy. Maybe you bring your, spouse or partner, maybe they're your COO or your, co-leader, president, and have them help you develop a strategy to get there. And then finally, take the time to do some real soul care. I had a realization some time ago. I will never be a supermodel and I will never be a basketball star or athlete. That was not the realization. We already all knew that. But the realization was all I really have going for me is my mind. And so I want to protect and nurture my mind the same way that an athlete trains their body, the same way that a supermodel, well, hopefully not, with problems there, but the same way a supermodel would take care of their body or an athlete would train their physical abilities. I want to take care of my mind because that's my job. That's what I use to interact with the world and to create an impact. So for me, things like getting rid of distractions, turning off all the notifications, getting rid of things that are draining my energy, that's a way to help build my capacity to focus. And that also then creates more time for meaning. And when I think about, when we say the word self-care, what comes to mind for you? Actually, I'm curious. When people say, oh, we need to have more time for self-care.
Self-care for me would be exercise and sleep.
Yep.
Typically.
Yeah. And those things are great. And so asking ourselves, all right, what does my body need today? Especially on shift. You know how people will be like, oh, I haven't eaten. I haven't gone to the bathroom. I haven't had a drink of water. When I am on shift, I remember a time I was like, oh, I'll just see one more patient and then I'll go get some water when I'm so thirsty. If I see my cat's water bowl empty, I'm not like, nope, you got to be a little more productive. Then I'll give you some water. Or my plants, my house plants, if they're looking dry, I go water them. Why are we treating ourselves worse than our house plants and our pets? So what does my body need today? What does my mind need today? What does my soul need today? Maybe that's, I need some connection, or I need to, read something that's inspiring. Sometimes, I'm not like a big art or poem-y type person. I'm more of a sciencey person, but I love when somebody will send me a poem and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, this really transported me. This opened my eyes in a new way today. So asking those questions of yourself to kind of do a check-in, both big picture, how you're investing your life, and smaller things. What do I need today for my body, for my mind, for my soul?
Well, talking with Dr. Christina Shenvi, always every conversation it's like therapy session. So we're talking about.
I'll bill you later.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. My insurance is great. Oh, no, I haven't met my deductible yet. Talking about your take-home points as CEO of your life, being radical, prioritizing what matters, and declutter. Be free, the learned helplessness, saying yes to things we hate, which for me is the HOA. I need to get out of that one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, my wife volunteered me, and now I can't get out of it. Maladaptive performance, busy does not equal important. And then some of your summary of tips is do a self-assessment. Think about what you want in life to look like in the future, 6 months, and then take the time to do some soul care. I'm going to do some soul care Thursday.
Excellent. Love it.
Go do a little TV, get a workout, take a nap. Maybe ride the tractor. That's going to be
good for your soul.
It's going to be good
Here's
for the
what
soul.
ails you.
Well, that's what, and you mentioned the notifications. Phone's still here, by the way. Is the idea that, even here, giving out the number to everybody in case, want to contact. But I never have my notifications on.
Oh, absolutely not. Nope.
And so what I'll do is you go 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, and then you check, see if you have any texts or anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do keep the ringer on just for the sake of, my wife can always get through it.
Yes.
I mean, even if it's on silent, it gets through. But for Lex and Fire and EMS, I keep the ringer on at night just for the online medical control. During the day, I don't, just simply because of all the spam calls.
Right.
I mean, so it's really getting in there and kind of taking that distraction. To me, the phone reminds me so much of the EKGs and the ED.
Yes.
That you're just deep into something, then all of a sudden it slides in front of you, and now you reset, and you're like, okay, where was I?
What was I doing?
Yeah. And so then not only is it just a 5-second or 10-second distraction, but it's like a 30 to 60-second reset.
Absolutely is. Yep. And that happens 60 times a day.
Yes.
That's an hour of time just going, what was I doing? My trying to get that little train of thought, like chugging on the tracks again.
Any closing thoughts or anything before we head out for today, get you back to leading the world here?
Oh, that's it, Ryan. It's always great to talk with you, and I'm excited for your term as president and look forward to all you're going to accomplish in that role.
Well, you already have my cell phone number, so you can just, if you have a challenge or anything, just text away. Expect to hear from me back in about 30 to 60 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, talking with Dr. Christina Shenvi, doing some life improvement here as always. Wonderful content and taking notes. So over here, the title of the talk was Beyond Balance, Creating Work-Life Effectiveness Instead. So if you want to check that out, if you have access, you didn't make the talk, get your ACEP anywhere, anytime, then in virtual ACEP. And you can check that out because it was fantastic information, great talk. We can just listen to this one again. It's great for me. But contact me. How can folks contact you? I didn't ask you that yet.
Yep, you can find me on my website, timeforyourlife.org, or my email's on the web, cshenvi@med.unc.edu.
Thank you very much. And as for me, you can contact me rstanton at acep.org, rstanton at acep.org. I was wondering actually this weekend if this didn't turn out the way it was, if I was going to have to change my email, but you can still send it. rstanton at acep.org. It is at EverydayMed on X. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on whatever your favorite player is. And do me a favor, leave us a 5-star review to help boost us up so we can get some more plays and get some more exposure out there to other physicians that can benefit from such great information like Dr. Shenvi's. I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this has been some ACEP Frontline.